All right, settle down. What seems to be the issue here?
Officer, I was just trying to get dinner. He won't let me
Nothing
in.
is loitering, being aggressive. I want him trespassing.
That's a lie. I'm in uniform. I just got off work.
Save it. Turn around, hands on the car. Now.
Oh, what ground?
I haven't broken any law.
The ground is you're not complying. Now you're
Don't grab
resisting.
me.
Paul Stevens had absolutely no idea what he just walked into. In the next 5 minutes, this manager wouldn't just lose his job. He was about to cost his franchise a staggering $1.4 million in damages. The man he was dismissing as messy was not a vagrant. He was the city's most decorated first responder. Andre Washington had just clocked out of a 16-hour rescue operation. He saved 3 lives that day. One of those lives was Paul's own next-door neighbor. And the 3 teenagers at the table behind them. They were recording everything in 4K resolution. Before I continue, let me ask you, have you ever been treated unfairly by someone in power? Drop your answer in the comments. But Paul Stevens had no idea who he was screaming at. He saw a dirty man, but the truth was very different. Andre Washington is a fire captain. He works for the city department at Station 42. He is not new to this job. He is a 15-year veteran. He has dedicated his life to service. He even won the Medal of Valor last year. That is the highest honor a firefighter can get. He specializes in structural collapse rescue. That means when buildings fall down, Andre goes in. He crawls through tight spaces to find survivors. He is highly trained in staying calm. He knows how to handle a crisis. This was ironic because the manager was the one acting crazy. Andre was the expert in de-escalation. There was a reason Andre looked dirty. He had just come from a massive fire at an apartment complex. He worked for 16 hours straight without a break. The dirt on his pants was not trash. It was soot and drywall dust. It was the ash from saving families. He had carried children out of burning rooms. On this Tuesday evening, Captain Washington wasn't looking for a parade. He did not want a thank you. He just wanted a burger. He was exhausted. He just wanted to sit down and rest his legs. But Paul only saw the surface. He did not see the hero underneath. Paul Stevens had a specific reputation in this neighborhood. People knew who he was. He had been the general manager of Riverside Grill for 3 years. It was a powerful position, but he did not use it well. He had 12 complaints filed against him in 18 months. That is a huge number. Every single complaint involved the same thing. He liked to check suspicious people, but those people were always minority customers. There was a clear pattern. In 2023, he called the cops on a real estate agent. The agent was black and waiting for a client. Paul said he looked like a loiterer. It was humiliating. In 2024, he accused a delivery driver of stealing tips. The driver was Hispanic. The security cameras proved the driver was innocent. Paul never apologized. Paul also had a dress code, but he enforced it unfairly. White patrons could wear shorts and sandals, but if a black patron wore sneakers, Paul kicked them out. His own staff knew he was a problem. The servers called him the bouncer behind his back. They said he spent more time policing the door than managing the food. He loved the feeling of power. He liked telling people no. But this time, Paul wasn't just targeting a regular customer. He was targeting a city hero, and he was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. Let me know what you think about managers who abuse their power in the comments. It was Tuesday, October 14th. The time was 7:15 p.m. The Riverside Grill is a nice place. It is in the downtown district. It has white tablecloths and nice lighting. The atmosphere was busy. It was the dinner rush. You could hear glasses clinking. You could smell grilled meat and spices. The music was low and relaxing. 3 teenagers were sitting at table 4. They are very important to this story. They were eating fries and laughing. Several staff members were working nearby. They looked uncomfortable when they saw Paul at the door. Andre walked in. He was still in his full turnout gear. He had taken off his heavy jacket and helmet, but he was wearing his station t-shirt. It had the fire department logo clearly visible on the chest. He smelled like smoke. It was a strong smell of burnt wood. He walked toward the host's stand. He smiled at the young hostess. She smiled back, but before she could speak, Paul moved. He intercepted Andre. He stepped right in front of him. He did not want Andre to get a seat. That is when the atmosphere in the restaurant shifted. It went from hungry to hostile in 1 second. The music seemed to stop. The happy sounds faded away. Everyone turned to look at the door. If stories like this matter to you, hit subscribe. We are telling the truth about what happens in our world. Paul blocked the path completely. He crossed his arms over his chest. "Restrooms are for customers only," Paul said loudly. Andre paused. He stayed very calm. "I am a customer," Andre said. "I want to eat dinner." Paul looked down at Andre's pants. They were covered in grey dust. "We have a hygiene policy," Paul sneered. "You are bringing filth in here. Look at you." Andre touched the badge on his shirt. "It is soot," Andre explained gently. "From a fire. I am a firefighter." Paul rolled his eyes. "Likely story," he said. He did not believe him, or maybe he just did not care. Paul raised his voice. He wanted the whole room to hear him. "I said get out. We don't serve your kind here." Andre remained statue calm. He did not raise his voice. "Is that the official policy?" Andre asked. "That you don't serve firefighters?" Paul stepped into Andre's personal space. He poked a finger in the air. "I am the policy," Paul said. "This is my restaurant." The teenagers at table 4 stopped eating. They looked at each other. They knew this was wrong. Slowly, phones came up. Flashlights turned on. They hit the red record button. Paul was too angry to notice them. "You are making a scene," Paul lied. "You are scaring the customers." "I am standing still," Andre said. "I am just asking for a table." "I don't care," Paul yelled. "Leave before I call the police." Andre looked Paul in the eye. He did not blink. "You are going to call the police on a fire captain?" Andre asked. "I will call them on a trespasser," Paul threatened. "You are dirty. You are unwanted. Get out." It was a terrible moment. Paul was bullying a man who saved lives. He felt powerful. He thought he was winning, but he was digging his own grave. What Paul didn't know was that Andre recognized him. Andre had seen Paul before. It was on a medical call 4 months ago. Andre knew exactly who Paul was, and he knew something Paul had forgotten. But wait, there is more to this. The confrontation was about to take a shocking turn. Paul was about to learn a very hard lesson. Andre spoke quietly. He did not want to embarrass the man. "Mr. Stevens," Andre said, "I was at your house in June. Do you remember the gas leak?" Paul froze. His eyes went wide for a second. He knew the name, but his ego was too big. He could not back down now. He had already yelled. He had to win. "I don't know you," Paul lied. "I have never seen you before." That is when the witnesses spoke up. The restaurant had heard enough. One of the teenagers at table 4 stood up. "He is a firefighter, Jude," the teen yelled. "Look at the patch on his arm. It says City Fire Department." Another customer spoke up from the bar. It was a woman. "You can't kick him out," she said. "He saved people today. We saw it on the news." The third teen held up his phone. The light was shining on Paul's face. "We are live streaming this, Paul," the kid shouted. 500 people are watching right now." Paul looked around the room. He saw the phones. He saw the angry faces. He realized he was losing control, but instead of apologizing, he made a fatal error. He decided to escalate. Paul pulled out his own phone. "Fine," Paul spat. "I am calling the police." Andre crossed his arms. He leaned against the wall. "Go ahead," Andre said. "Call them." Paul dialed 911. He put on a fake scared voice. "Hello, I need help," Paul said. "There is a vagrant in my restaurant. He is aggressive. He won't leave. I feel threatened." Andre just shook his head. He watched Paul lie to the dispatcher. Paul hung up the phone. He smiled a smug smile at Andre. "They are coming," Paul said. "Now you will go to jail." Paul truly believed he was right. He thought the police would back the owner over the vagrant. He thought his suit made him right. He thought Andre's dirty clothes made him wrong. 10 minutes passed. The restaurant was silent. Everyone was waiting. Then blue lights flashed through the front window. Sirens wailed outside. Paul puffed out his chest. "See," Paul said, "game over." Andre didn't move. He didn't run. He just waited. By now, Paul was starting to understand something. Maybe he had miscalculated. The police officers were walking to the door. They looked serious. Paul thought they were coming to arrest Andre, but Paul was about to get the shock of his life. Type justice in the comments if you are rooting for Andre right now. 2 officers entered the restaurant. They walked with a purpose. Paul ran up to them immediately. He pointed a finger at Andre. "Officer, thank God you are here," Paul said. "Remove this man. He is trespassing." The officers stopped. They looked at Paul. Then they looked at Andre. They did not pull out their handcuffs. They did not reach for their tasers. Instead, both officers stood up straight. They raised their hands. They saluted. "Good evening, Captain Washington," the first officer said. His voice was full of respect. Paul's jaw dropped open. He looked like he had seen a ghost. You know him?" Paul asked. His voice squeaked. The officer looked at Paul like he was stupid. "Everyone knows him," the officer said. "He is a hero. He runs Station 42. Paul tried to spin the narrative. He tried to save himself. "Well, he is threatening me," Paul lied. "He is being aggressive." The officer shook his head. He turned to the teenagers. "Can I see that video?" he asked. The teen showed the footage. The officer watched it. It showed Andre standing perfectly still. It showed Paul yelling and pointing. "This video shows you are the aggressor," the officer said to Paul. Paul started to sweat. "He violates the health code," Paul shouted. "He is dirty." The officer pointed to the bar area. There were 2 construction workers eating burgers. They had dust on their clothes too. "Why are they allowed to eat?" the officer asked. "Is it because they are white?" Paul had no answer. He stuttered. "This is a public accommodation," the officer explained sternly. "You cannot refuse service based on bias. That is illegal." Paul got angry again. He doubled down. "I want him arrested," Paul screamed. "Get him out." The officer laughed. It was a cold laugh. "Arrested for what?" the officer asked. "For eating while black. That is not a crime." The police took statements from everyone. The witnesses told the truth. They said Paul was mean and racist. The police informed Paul that he was in the wrong. They wrote a detailed report. Andre decided to end it. He was the better man. "I will not give this man my money," Andre said. "I will eat somewhere else." Andre walked out of the door. The customers in the restaurant started to clap. They booed Paul as he stood there. Andre left hungry, but Paul's appetite for power was about to get him choked. If you enjoy seeing bad bosses get caught, hit subscribe right now. Andre walked away with his head high, but the internet was about to fight for him. By 8:00 p.m., the teenagers uploaded the video to TikTok. They titled it, "Hero Denneed Food." It showed Paul screaming. It showed Andre being calm. By 9:00 p.m., the video had 50,000 views. The local fire union shared it on their page. They asked for support. By midnight, the video had 2 million views. It was spreading like wildfire. The hashtag #BoycottRiverside was trending locally. People were furious. They saw the contrast clearly. The dirty hero versus the clean manager. It made people sick. By the next morning, national news trucks were in the parking lot. The story was everywhere. The headlines read, "Service denied to service member." The neighbor Andre saved saw the video. She posted her own video in response. She was crying. "That man carried my grandmother out of a fire," she said. "He is a saint. How dare they treat him like that?" The internet detectives went to work. They found Paul's old complaints. They posted his history for everyone to see. The corporate office for Riverside Grill woke up to a nightmare. Their phones were ringing off the hook. Emails were pouring in. Everyone wanted answers. Paul tried to do damage control. He posted on Facebook. He claimed it was a safety concern. He said he was just following rules. It was a bad move. He got ratioed into oblivion. Thousands of comments called him a liar. They posted the video in the comments. He had to delete his account. This story was shared millions of times. Share it if you think others should see this. 3 days later, the real consequences began. Andre Washington filed a civil rights lawsuit. He sued for discrimination in public accommodation. He also sued for intentional infliction of emotional distress. He hired a top lawyer. The legal process is called discovery. This is where the lawyers get to look at emails and texts. They found the truth. They found messages from Paul. He had bragged about kicking out thugs. He had a pattern of targeting minorities. The evidence was undeniable. The franchise owner knew they were in trouble. They did not want to go to a jury trial. Juries love firefighters. They hate discrimination. If this went to court, the jury might award $10 million. So the company settled. They agreed to pay a massive amount. The settlement was $1.4 million. That is a life-changing amount of money. But money wasn't enough. There were social consequences too. Riverside Grill had to change. They created a new policy: first responders eat free. They wanted to fix their bad image. And what about Paul? Paul Stevens was fired immediately. The reason listed was gross misconduct. He was walked out of the building by security. It was humiliating. But it got worse for him. He tried to get another job in the city, but his face was famous now. No restaurant would hire him. He was blacklisted in the hospitality industry. Paul blamed everyone else. In interviews, he said woke culture ruined him. He refused to take responsibility. He never apologized to Andre. Andre's response was simple. "I didn't want the money," Andre said. "I wanted him to know we belong here." The $1.4 million was paid, but the check came with a condition Andre insisted on. It was something that surprised everyone. "Wait until you hear what he did with the money." Andre held a press conference outside his fire station. He stood in his uniform. He looked strong, but also sad. He spoke about the pain of that night. "It is humiliating," Andre said. "I wear this uniform to save lives. I risk my life for this city, but to him, I was just dirt." He looked at the cameras. "If they do this to me in uniform," Andre said, "imagine what they do to a regular guy in a hoodie. Imagine how they treat people who don't have a badge." Andre had a message for workers everywhere. "Do not enforce bigotry for your boss," he said. "It is not worth your soul." He also had a message for customers. "If you see something, record it. Those kids saved the truth. Without that video, it would have been my word against his." Then he revealed what he did with the money. Andre donated a huge portion to a scholarship fund. He created a fund for minority students who want to be firefighters. He turned the ugly moment into a beautiful future. He thanked the teenagers publicly. He even took them out for dinner. He bought them whatever they wanted. He ended with a quote that went viral. "Respect isn't something you verify at the door, it's something you give to every human being." It was a powerful moment. The city cheered for him. This happens too often. 60% of Black Americans report discrimination in retail or dining. Usually, it is just one word against another. The victim loses. But this case was different. The uniform and the video made it undeniable. This case changed things. The chain implemented zero-tolerance bias policies. They forced managers to take training. Legal experts say this set a precedent. You cannot use dress codes to hide racism. But we still have work to do. Managers like Paul often just move to new cities. We need to stay vigilant. So let me ask you, do you think Paul would have stopped if the camera wasn't rolling? Do you think a $1.4 million fine is enough to change a mindset? Do we judge people by their dirt or by the work that caused it? Because if we don't call out the Paul Stevens of the world, we lose the Andre Washingtons. If we don't demand respect, we are just waiting for the next victim. Comment below if you believe respect should be mandatory. If you think stories like this matter, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep exposing these stories. We're going to keep demanding better. This isn't just about a burger. It's about who gets a seat at the table. See you in the next one.